Hey everyone, it's Lance from Cinematic Galaxy here, and I'm finally here to review Monsters University for you guys, the latest Pixar film. It's the prequel to Monsters, Inc. Now, let me get this out of the way. Monsters, Inc., if you have not seen my review on my channel, an older review I did, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's very dear to my heart. I have a great memory of being 8 years old, seeing this for the first time in theaters. The film absolutely blew me away. And it just really touched me on so many levels. I've always loved it. It's every bit as great now as it was then. So that being said, and the fact that I'm a big Pixar fan, I was always looking forward to Monsters University. But at the same time, I was kind of skeptical about it. When it was announced there would be a sequel to Monsters, Inc., I had two emotions. I was skeptical because I always felt, even as a kid, that the story wrapped up perfectly and that there was no need for a sequel. But at the same time, I always also felt that, like with Toy Story, I mean, lightning could strike twice. And in the case of Monsters, Inc., that universe, in my opinion, is kind of like a science fiction universe in a way. It's actually pretty expansive. Like, there's so many opportunities. Like, maybe have the monsters interact with the human world. There's stories like that. I always felt like the universe had a lot of potential. So anyway, leading up to this movie, I was very much looking forward to it. And I did not look at any reviews once again. I only watched the first two trailers, I think. That was it. The teaser and the first trailer that was released. After that, I didn't watch anything. And, and also I have to say that the last two Pixar movies, Cars 2, I could not stand at all. Brave, I liked. I think I was very generous to it in my old review of it. I gave it like an A-, I think. Now I'd probably give it like a B-. I mean, I think I was being very, very generous because I was kind of in denial that it wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. But Monsters University, how is this film? And I promise you guys I'm being completely authentic in how I feel about this film, and I'm not going to backtrack. This is actually, I'm not sugarcoating anything. I really, really, really liked, maybe even loved Monsters University. I was so satisfied with this film. Throughout most of the movie, I was smiling like a little kid. And there were a lot of little kids in my showing of the film. The theater was packed, and these kids were just cracking up at all the jokes. And it was so kind of heartwarming to me because, I'm 20 now. I was 8 when the original came out. So back then I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids laughing at all the jokes, finding everything hysterical. And it was great to see that with this movie and to kind of get that experience while at the same time I was enjoying it myself. I was legitimately really, really enjoying this film. Now, first of all, the animation. The animation is just beautiful. Just so many great, vibrant colors, great attention to detail. And the original Monsters, Inc. has great animation. It still holds up, but it obviously has come further with this film. And that's no detriment to the original. It's just showing how amazing the animation actually is now. Also, the musical score, the soundtrack. One of my favorite things about the original Monsters, Inc. is that score. The very jazzy theme and just all the kind of different varieties that go into it. Like that opening theme with those kind of old school credits. The yeah, you get it. But it's so catchy and so awesome. What I loved about this movie, though, is that it does not copy that theme. It actually, because this film deals with a younger Mike and Sully, because they're in college, the music actually kind of reflects that more. And I actually thought that was a very smart, creative move that Pixar did that they didn't just rehash the music from the original Monsters, Inc. I thought that was very clever, and I was very happy with that. Also, I have to mention the voice acting. John Goodman and Billy Crystal are, again, the standouts. I mean, these guys are fantastic. The characters are great. In my opinion, Mike and Sully are, as far as Pixar characters go, in my opinion, they're just about second only to Woody and Buzz. I mean, I love these guys about just as much. Their friendship is great to see, though they don't start off as friends in this movie, so that's very interesting. But John Goodman and Billy Crystal are a big part of that because they are just so great with the voices. And I have to commend them for that. And everybody else was great as well. As for the characters in this movie, again, Mike and Sully, great as always. Also, everybody else in this film. I'm not going to give away all the characters, but a lot of the monster characters we meet in the college and all that are actually very good characters and very interesting designs. I love some of the puns with the monsters. I love this world. I love this universe, and I love seeing all those different monsters. It really makes me feel like a kid in the best way possible. Also, I have to say, now I'm going to get into the story. The story of this film was actually very well done. And that is something that Pixar has always kind of had as a foundation of who they are as a company. They care mostly about characters and story. And they show that and prove that with Monsters University, because the story and the characters are actually at the forefront here. It would have been so easy with them for Monsters University to just kind of go off of the characterizations of the original film. But they don't. They actually allow us to kind of get to know these characters more. And it's weird because this takes place first. And it is like we're seeing these characters the first time, because we actually do kind of get to see more of their personalities, more of who they are than we did in the original Monsters, Inc. And I really thought that was cool. You know, I like that they kind of added more aspects to the characters while still keeping them true to who they ultimately become. And the way it was done was actually very good filmmaking, in my opinion. And I just have to say the story, this movie has such great messages about believing in yourself and about just all kinds of things like Pixar always does, how they always hit these great messages home. I thought this film definitely had great messages. And like I said, the story itself, I was enjoying this film very much throughout the first 2/3 of the movie. I was enjoying it a lot. But at that same time as I was enjoying those first 2/3, I did not quite feel like they stacked up to Pixar's best. Not Pixar's weakest either, but not Pixar's best. I felt like it was doing justice to it, but it wasn't quite up there. Then we get the third act, the third quarter of the film, the final one. And I felt like that last quarter of the film was fantastic. Easily just as great as the best of Pixar, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it. I was completely captivated by what was going on later in this film. The story actually had me invested in it. I was invested in Mike and Sully. And what is so impressive about Monsters University to me, or Monsters U as I could call it, MU, whatever, is that what impresses me the most about it is that we already know Mike and Sully from the first film when we see them older. And we care for those characters there and want to see them succeed there. I love that, of course, the story's going to be very different in Monsters University, but they give us reasons to pull for these characters again. We actually want to see them succeed in what they're doing. And they all have their own motives, their own goals, and we care for them. And, even with no Boo being in the film, we find reasons to care about these characters and care about what they're doing. And I think that is so great. That is really the great thing about this movie. And honestly, it might even sound like I'm underpraising this film, because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I liked it. The more it did justice to Monsters, Inc. Is it as great as Monsters, Inc.? No, but I never expected it to be. I just wanted something that made me happy it was made. And I am happy that Monsters University was made. Another thing I want to say really fast is that, I will say that, what was I saying? I was going to say that the humor of this film, while this film is quite funny, there are definitely moments where I chuckle, it's not as funny as the original Monsters, Inc. And I guess that could be considered a flaw, but it was not something that really bothered me with this movie. I was not so bothered by the fact that it wasn't as funny as Monsters, Inc. because it's very different from Monsters, Inc. I mean, that's one thing that should be apparent from the very beginning, and I want to let you all know now. do not go into this film expecting a film just like Monsters, Inc. because you will probably be disappointed. It's definitely not like Monsters, Inc. And the reason that's appropriate is because it's just the characters are younger. I mean, honestly, I know this is going to seem really weird, but I kind of got a Goofy movie kind of vibe from it. That's just me. But anyway, moving on, I also wanted to say that the short that was in front of this film called The Blue Umbrella, amazing animation, kind of photorealistic, if that makes sense. And it's probably my favorite short that Pixar has ever done. I mean, I'm serious. I really loved it. You should definitely check it out. But anyway, Monsters University. Again, this movie took twists and turns in the third act that really surprised me and really elevated my enjoyment of this movie. It really elevated it. And what I really ultimately have to say about this movie, my final verdict on it, is that it's not quite up there with the best of Pixar, like Toy Story 3 or any of the Toy Story movies or the original Monsters, Inc. or The Incredibles. It's not like that elite pantheon, but it's close. It's almost right there. It's almost right there. Definitely not one of the weaker films either. It definitely feels good because it does have some of that old Pixar magic, and it's just great to see that again, especially with these old characters. My ultimate rating for Monsters University is an A-. I love this movie. I'm only making a minus just because I did not feel that it was quite as funny as the first film. But other than that, I mean, this is a very good film. It was very well done. I loved it, really. I mean, I truly did. And I just want to know what you guys think about it. What do you think about Monsters University? Are you excited for it if you haven't seen it yet? Are you worried about it? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know what you think, guys. And anyway, stay tuned for my next few reviews. And this is Lance from Cinematic Galaxy, signing off.